Before Google became a verb, Larry Page was just a Stanford PhD student, obsessed with the idea of indexing the web. He imagined a world where all information could be organized and made instantly accessible. In 1996, this vision sparked what would later be called Backrub, an early prototype of Google. It wasn't just code, it was a challenge to how we find truth in chaos. And Larry, he believed the internet was only just beginning. It was at Stanford where Larry met Sergey Brin, a brilliant mind with a skeptical streak. At first, they clashed, debating everything, but their shared obsession with solving search made them an unstoppable team. Together, they refined Backrub's algorithm, using links between websites to rank relevance. This wasn't just innovation, it was disruption. Larry's calm vision and Sergey's relentless logic created the perfect storm for reshaping how the world explored information. In 1997, they needed a name, something simple, memorable, and massive in scope. They landed on Google, a play on Google, the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. It symbolized their dream, organizing an unfathomable amount of information. With $100,000 in angel funding from Sun's co-founder Andy Bechtolsheim, Google Inc. was born. Larry Page, now CEO, wasn't just building a company, he was designing the world's new front door to knowledge. Google's first office, a garage in Menlo Park, rented from Susan Wojcicki. Inside, Larry Page and Sergey Brin worked day and night, configuring servers from cheap hardware, even repurposing Lego bricks for server racks. The garage hummed with energy and ambition. Search results got faster, smarter, users noticed. And Larry, he didn't see it as a search engine, but a prototype for organizing the world's knowledge, one click at a time. As Google's popularity soared, Larry Page faced a new challenge: scaling. He insisted on speed, efficiency, and clean design, even as traffic exploded. They built their own infrastructure, bypassing expensive enterprise solutions. Larry's vision wasn't just product, it was architecture. He believed that search needed to be lightning fast, or it wouldn't survive, and that meant controlling everything from server hardware to data routing. While other sites chased ads and flashy layouts, Larry Page doubled down on simplicity. The Google homepage was bare, just a logo and a box. It was radical in an internet full of noise, and users loved it. For Larry, design wasn't decoration, it was clarity. He believed simplicity wasn't the absence of complexity, but the mastery of it. That mindset would define every product Google released for decades. Larry Page wasn't interested in doing things the normal way. When Google started attracting serious investors, Larry resisted hiring a traditional CEO. He believed founders should run companies, not be replaced by outsiders in suits. This mindset caused tension with venture capitalists who feared his inexperience. But Larry held firm. To him, protecting the company's mission mattered more than appeasing boardrooms. In 2001, under pressure, Larry and Sergey agreed to bring in adult supervision, Eric Schmidt. But Larry made one thing clear: vision stays with the founders. He wasn't stepping back, just stepping sideways to scale. Eric handled operations, while Larry focused on long-term bets, like machine learning and organizing global data. This trio, engineer, mathematician, manager, formed a rare balance, and it worked better than anyone expected. While others chased quarterly profits, Larry Page was dreaming bigger. He quietly funded projects like self-driving cars, voice assistants, and smart glasses, years before they were mainstream. To Larry, Google wasn't just a company. It was a lab for the future. He believed technology should anticipate human needs before we even ask. And that the boldest bets often look ridiculous until they change everything. In 2015, Larry Page made a radical move. He stepped down as Google's CEO to become CEO of a new parent company, Alphabet Inc. This wasn't retreat, it was reinvention. He split Google from its experimental arms, giving each more focus. Search, YouTube, and Android stayed under Google. But moonshots like Calico, Waymo, and DeepMind. They became separate bets, each with its own CEO, resources, and runway to reshape the world. After decades at the frontier, Larry Page began stepping back from public view. No more keynotes, no interviews, just quiet influence from the background. He believed leadership didn't require a microphone, only clarity of mission. While Sundar Pichai took over Google and Alphabet, Larry remained the architect, designing from a distance. In a world addicted to attention, Page chose silence and let his vision speak through the products billions use daily. Larry Page didn't chase celebrity, he built infrastructure. The tools he helped create, Search, Android, Gmail, aren't just products. They're pillars of the modern internet. Even now, Larry's fingerprint is everywhere, from Google's minimalist design to its relentless drive for speed and utility. He proved that engineering could be a form of philosophy, and that changing the world doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with uptime. Larry Page never chased status symbols, no flashy interviews, no billionaire yachts. Instead, he poured his fortune into problems most avoid: aging, energy, AI. His investments weren't about headlines, they were about humanity's next leap. He once said, "You don't need to have a 100-person company to develop that idea." To Larry, wealth was just a resource, vision was the true currency. Today, Larry Page rarely appears in headlines, but his ideas shape the digital world daily. He remains an investor, a thinker, and a silent force behind breakthroughs. While others battle for attention, he chooses impact over noise. He doesn't tweet, he doesn't trend. But every time you search, navigate, or ask a virtual assistant, you're stepping into the infrastructure he quietly imagined decades ago. Larry Page may never be a household face, but he's an architectural mind behind how billions live, learn, and connect. He didn't seek to dominate headlines, he sought to build foundations. His genius lies not in charisma, but in structure. And while many chase virality, Larry built permanence. Not just a company, but a framework for how the internet organizes itself. For Larry Page, the mission was never complete. He believed technology should always serve humanity, not distract it. From healthcare to sustainability, he kept asking the same question: how can we make the future arrive sooner? It wasn't about building faster tech, it was about solving deeper problems. And even as he stepped away, that question still echoes through every team he inspired. Larry Page never saw Google as just a product, it was a philosophy. He believed the best technology disappears into the background, serving quietly, guiding effortlessly, empowering constantly. It wasn't the algorithm that changed the world, it was the mindset behind it. A mindset that values utility over vanity and progress over perfection. That's Larry Page's legacy, engineering not just code but culture. Every second, Google processes over 99,000 searches, each one a whisper of curiosity. Behind that staggering number is Larry Page's original dream: to make the world's knowledge accessible to anyone, anywhere. It's not just about speed or scale, it's about trust. People type their fears, their hopes, their futures into a box Larry helped imagine. And in return, they find direction in a digital universe. Back in his Stanford dorm, Larry Page asked a question that seemed naive. What if we could download the entire web? It sounded absurd, impossible even. But that single question ignited a chain reaction. One that redefined how we access, trust, and navigate information. It reminds us innovation doesn't start with answers, it starts with questions bold enough to scare you. Larry Page didn't just build a tool, he scaled a system for billions. From remote villages to urban tech hubs, Google became a lifeline. Search became education. Maps became access. Translate became connection. Larry believed technology's true success wasn't profit, it was reach. And that belief turned one man's dorm room idea into a platform shaping how humanity understands itself. Larry Page once said, "Always work on something uncomfortably exciting." That simple principle shaped every bold move he made. From redefining search to funding flying cars to restructuring Google itself. He didn't follow market trends, he chased the edges of possibility. And in doing so, he left behind more than just a company. He left behind a mindset: think big, stay quiet, and build the future anyway. To Larry Page, Google was never just a search engine. It was a launch pad, a way to explore what else technology could solve. From curing disease to building AI that understands language, he kept asking, "What's next?" Even as others optimized for clicks, Larry optimized for leaps. Because in his world, the next big idea was always one question away. As Google's influence grew, so did the ethical questions. Larry Page believed deeply in doing good, but scaling impact meant facing real-world consequences. Misinformation, data privacy, algorithmic bias, these weren't just bugs. They were signals that power must be handled with care. Larry didn't have every answer, but he knew the future would demand both bold ideas and moral clarity. In 2019, Larry Page made his quietest, boldest move yet. He stepped down. No grand farewell, no public stage. He simply said it was time for new leaders, new voices. Because real visionaries know when to build and when to get out of the way. He didn't leave behind noise, he left behind momentum. A machine still learning, still growing, still chasing the questions he once dared to ask. Larry Page may be gone from the headlines, but his spirit lives inside every question we ask. Every time someone types a thought, a fear, or a dream into that blank white box, they're echoing his original mission. Not to answer everything, but to make searching easier, faster, more human. Because to Larry, it was never about the answers. It was always about the courage to ask. What began in a cramped Stanford dorm, powered by curiosity and recycled servers, became one of the most powerful engines of knowledge in human history. Larry Page didn't just launch a company. He launched a mindset, one that asks more, builds smarter, and dares to believe that even the messiest questions deserve elegant answers. Larry Page never craved the spotlight, he craved the solution. While others fought for press, he fought for precision. He let the work speak, let the data prove, and let the tools he built transform the world, silently, steadily, brilliantly. Because real genius doesn't demand applause. It simply delivers. Even now, the world runs on questions. And every search, every whisper into a phone or tap on a screen, traces back to one man's radical curiosity. Larry Page didn't just give us answers. He gave us the courage to ask. In a world of noise, he built silence with purpose, so the world could think, learn, wonder without limit. Larry Page didn't just change the internet, he changed how we interact with knowledge itself. But his story isn't finished because now it's yours. Every question you ask, every answer you share. You're continuing the mission he started. To think bravely, to build quietly, to search for what matters. Because the future isn't found, it's created. And someone somewhere is already asking the next big question. A blank screen, a blinking cursor. That's where it always begins. Larry Page gave us the most powerful tool of the information age. Not just to find things, but to find ourselves. So as you open your browser and type your next question, remember behind every search is a spark. And sometimes that spark becomes a revolution.